All right, today we're going to dive into a book that is, no exaggeration, changed millions of relationships. Gary Chapman's The 5 Love Languages. And it's built around this really simple but kind of revolutionary idea. What if the secret to making love last isn't about huge, grand gestures, but about learning to speak the right language?
So let's kick things off with a feeling that I think almost every couple knows. You know, that moment when the honeymoon period kind of wears off, the magic starts to fade a little, and you're left looking at each other thinking, okay, what happens now?
And believe it or not, this is the exact question that got the whole ball rolling for Gary Chapman. He was on a flight, and the guy sitting next to him just blurts this out. It really gets to the absolute heart of why so many amazing relationships hit a wall after the wedding.
I mean, listen to what this man on the plane actually said. Here's a guy who's smart, he's successful, but he is totally stumped by this pattern in his own life. He genuinely thought he was in love every single time, but then, poof, the feeling would just disappear, and it left him completely confused.
And look, this guy isn't an outlier. Chapman makes this really important point. The need to feel loved by your partner isn't just some nice-to-have thing. It's a deep, fundamental human need hardwired into our psychology. It's why we're all on this quest to figure out how to keep love alive.
So to really understand what's going on here, Chapman introduces a simple but brilliant metaphor that helps it all make sense: the emotional love tank.
He actually borrowed this from a psychiatrist, Dr. Ross Campbell. And the idea is this: we all walk around with an emotional love tank. When your partner does things that fill that tank, you feel secure, you feel happy, you feel loved. But when that tank is running low or even empty, that's when the relationship starts to break down. And Chapman argues that so much of the conflict, the arguments, the unhappiness in relationships, it really just stems from one or both partners running on an empty tank.
Okay, but you might be thinking, hold on a second, what about that incredible head over heels in love feeling you get at the very beginning? Surely that fills the tank, right? We've all been there. But here's where Chapman says we've made a massive mistake. We confuse that temporary obsession with actual lasting love.
And this is such a critical distinction. On one hand, you have falling in love. It's an obsession, it's effortless, it feels amazing, but it's temporary. It isn't really focused on making the other person grow. Then you have real love. That's different. That is a conscious choice. It takes effort, it takes discipline, and it's all about intentionally looking out for your partner's well-being.
So how long does that initial obsessive in-love phase last? Well, research by a psychologist, Dr. Dorothy Tenov, found that the average lifespan of that romantic obsession is about 2 years. After 2 years, our feet come back down to earth, and that's when the real work of love has to begin.
So, if that in-love high has an expiration date, what do? How do you keep the love tank full for a lifetime? Well, this is where Chapman's big idea comes into play. You have to learn to speak one of the 5 love languages.
You see, the problem usually isn't that you're not sincere. You could be trying your absolute best to show your partner you love them. But if you're not speaking their language, the message just gets lost. It's like you're passionately declaring your love in English to someone who only understands Chinese. The intent is there, but you're not connecting.
So after years and years of counseling couples, Chapman realized that people basically express and receive love in 5 core ways. First, you've got words of affirmation, using words to build someone up. Then there's quality time, and this means giving someone your pure, undivided attention. Third is receiving gifts. These are tangible, visual symbols of love. Fourth, you have acts of service, basically doing things for your partner that you know they'd like you to do. And finally, physical touch. Now, we can all appreciate all 5, but Chapman's theory is that each of us has a primary language that really truly fills our tank.
So the takeaway here is pretty straightforward. You can't just keep speaking your own native love language and expect it to work. You have to be willing to learn your partner's primary language. That's how you become an effective communicator of love.
All right, so this all sounds good in theory, right? But how do you actually put it into practice? Well, the first step is to figure out which language you and your partner are even speaking.
Let's start with you. Just take a second and think about it. When do you feel the most loved? What does your partner do that just really hits the spot and fills up your emotional tank? Now, if you're kind of scratching your head, don't worry. Chapman offers 3 really helpful clues. First, think about what your partner does, or maybe fails to do, that hurts you the most. The opposite of that is probably your love language. Second, what have you asked for most often over the years? And third, think about how you naturally show love to your partner. We often tend to give what we want to receive.
And if you want to dig even deeper, the book itself has these really cool diagnostic profiles. You answer some questions and it helps you pinpoint what really resonates with you. It's actually a fantastic low-pressure way to get this whole conversation started with your partner. And this all leads us to the final, and I think maybe the most profound takeaway from the book. It's an idea that completely reframes how we think about what love even is. Here's the heart of it. We can't build a life on the temporary high of the in-love feeling. Real love, the kind that lasts a lifetime, starts with an attitude. It's a choice you make, day in and day out, to put your partner's needs first and to actively fill their love tank, especially on the days you don't really feel like it.
This is so powerful. Let's say your partner's love language is acts of service, but you hate doing chores. Well, when you choose to vacuum the floor for them anyway, that's not just cleaning. That is a massive act of love, precisely because it wasn't easy for you. You are consciously choosing to love them in a language they can understand.
So I'll just leave you with this one question to think about. Are you speaking a language that your partner can truly, deeply understand? Because figuring out the answer to that, it really could be the secret to building the kind of loving relationship you've always wanted.